This is a very special story in our gospel today from John, the evangelist, describing a very important time in Jesus' ministry. In fact, he's just getting started. He's there with his new disciples, with his mother, and they are at a wonderful banquet. And Jesus has the opportunity to perform his first public miracle. And that story would stand on its own if it were just about a miracle, if it were just about turning water into wine. That's pretty amazing. We don't see that often. But John has a way of weaving so many different levels into his stories that reveal to us what exactly Jesus wanted his hearers to know about the kingdom of God. And I think one of the important aspects of the gospel today is its position, its place in the overall gospel of John. And we don't often get a chance to think about that because on Sunday mornings when we hear the gospels, they're distinct. We hear a little piece here and a little piece there, and we don't often think about how they all fit together. So let me just give you the context. Previous to the wedding in Cana, John had been preaching the good news that the Messiah was about to come, and we are introduced to Jesus. Jesus appears on the scene. John, expecting the Messiah, tells the people that this is the one whom we've been waiting for. And that's enough of an introduction to get people's interest piqued, because we see next that Jesus walks around the countryside inviting people to join him. And he doesn't go to the rich, he doesn't go to the wise, to the educated. He goes to the regular people, to the fishermen, to the tax collectors, to those who are working the land, and he invites those to come and follow him. And we know that their interest is piqued by what they have heard about Jesus, because immediately they put down what they're doing. They drop their livelihood. They leave their families. They say, Jesus, we are putting our trust in you and we're going to follow you. And so that's the beginning of the story. Jesus begins his ministry with a few regular guys that have put their trust in him. And the next period is what we hear about. Jesus prepares the disciples for mission. Now, what do we think about when we prepare for a mission? I was thinking about the armed forces. What do the armed forces do with young men who are preparing for mission? Well, the first thing they do is put them on a bus and they take them to boot camp. And there they are grilled. They are beat down so severely with exercise and with knowledge and with discipline, and their hair is shaved and they're kept up on hours on end learning the drills time and time and time again so that they become strong, they become fit, they become responsible and disciplined, and we trust these men to protect the country. So that's preparing for mission in a way. But then Jesus comes along and he takes these men, and the very first thing he does with them is takes them to a banquet. A wedding banquet. Not just an ordinary celebration, but the celebration of a wedding where two people in love have come together to pledge their lives to each other forever. And where the families and friends of those two people come together in union around this covenant of love. And Jesus says to himself, this is the first thing I want my new disciples to see. As he talks to them about God's love for the people, he says, God's love, the kingdom of heaven, is like a wedding banquet. But it doesn't stop there. That would be interesting enough. But then we hear about the wine. They arrive on the third day and the wine has run out. I don't know if you have ever walked into a party right at the moment where there's one of those awkward pauses. You kind of say, what kind of a party is this? We can imagine Jesus coming into that scene where everyone has maybe had a little bit too much to drink, the conversation is lagging, there's no more wine, the spirit is dying. And Jesus' mother, our mother, a perpetual help, intercedes on behalf of the couple and says to Jesus, do something. Bring life back to this party. And we might say, well, you don't need alcohol to have a good party. Well, we might not all say that. Some of us might say that. But there is something about the symbol of wine in the Gospels. And it's something that's carried over into our day and age. We talk about the water of life. In Gaelic, whiskey, the water of life. In my own culture, the Danish national drink, aquavit, the water of life. And for John, wine is a symbol of new life, of the stale becoming new, of the boring becoming exciting, of the blasé becoming joyful. And so Jesus says to the stewards, we're going to get some more wine. I'm going to need a lot of water. And they bring the 6 stone jars, 100 liters each, 600 liters of water. It's an amazing amount. And it's a sign that Jesus comes to bring wine, life, not just in amounts that we can handle, but in overflowing torrents, an abundance. John Shea, the poet, writes about the wedding at Cana, and he uses a wonderful line. He says, Mary, the mother of Jesus, asked the stewards to bring a canyon full of grapes that Jesus would smash with his feet and turn into wedding wine, an image of overflowing abundance. And we're told that the steward said, this is the best wine he has ever tasted. Jesus brings his disciples to a wedding banquet and shows them what it means to bring life in a place where life was flagging. And that's our invitation as well. As we come as baptized disciples of Christ, we are called to enter into a wedding banquet. We might say, well, that's well and good. But how does that match with the life that I see around me? How does that match with our lives that we see in the world? Isn't there a contrast between the wedding banquet and what we read in the newspapers? And the fact is, yes, there is a big contrast. In fact, in this past week, we've been shocked and saddened by that terrible earthquake that shook Haiti. There's no reason for it. We don't know why the earthquakes happen. Even scientists have barely a clue how to predict them to save people. And we know that so many are in desperate peril. We say, what does that have to do with the wedding banquet? We need to send soldiers. We need to send relief workers. And that's true. We do need to help with concrete, physical ways, money, food, help. But the one thing that Jesus knew, and he knew about the suffering of life, he knew that he would have to teach his disciples to be strong and resilient and to be able to endure persecution. But the one thing he knew that they would need above all was how to bring hope. And he knew that unless they had, first of all, a vision of the wedding banquet, a vision of where it was all heading, then it didn't matter how strong or how resilient or how smart they were. If they didn't bring hope, they wouldn't be able to share the good news of the kingdom of God. So as we look at the papers and as we're moved by the plight of countries around the world that are in desperate need, we offer our help, our resources, we offer our prayers, and where we can, we offer our faith. The faith that God is calling us to something greater. That the suffering of this world is temporary, but the good news, the glory of the kingdom, the joy that Christ promises is eternal.